Happiness through curiosity on the Ranveer show. Welcome to TRS Clips. I want to take you back to that meeting with your guru. I would love for you to describe it a little bit, sir, because that's what's available about you online. If someone has not read your books, that one account is available, and it's written about how that one account was kind of the beginning of your journey in this lifetime.
Very true.
So I would also love to know a little bit about your guru and about the concept of a guru in general.
Okay. When I was 9 years old, I was born in a immigrant Muslim family from across the border into Kerala. My forefathers came as personal security guards to the Maharajas of Travancore. That's how we came here. Of course, then we got settled. Basically, I would say I'm like Keralite, if you ask me. Although I traveled a lot in the north, but I was born and brought up in Trivandrum. Trivandrum is a Thiruvananthapuram, the city of Anantasayana, Vishnu, laying Padma Swami temple. So when I was young, the backyard of our house was very long, very big. And many of our friends and neighbors used to come and play. By 6:30, they would have all gone home and I was alone. This happened every day almost. And then when I was about to go home, I looked far into the end of the backyard. And then I saw some very unusual person standing under the jackfruit tree. There was a jackfruit tree there, huge, big jackfruit tree. Unique because I've never seen such a person in my life. I was startled because I don't know how that person came there. Later on, I reasoned maybe he jumped on the compound wall. That part of the compound wall was a little short. But I was taken by surprise because at that age, at the age of 9, he was tall afterwards, I discovered, but then he looked very tall. And I've never seen a matted haired person in my life. His hair was all matted up here, very fair, very tall, no upper garment except a small cloth here. He carried a peculiar thing in his hand. Later on, I came to know it's a kamandalu. And on his neck was a garland of huge, big rudraksha, which I didn't know at that time, what a rudraksha is. So when I saw that, I was wondering, who's this? Where has this guy come from now? So he gestured with his hand like this. Why? What is the natural reaction when in the evening, when it's about to get dark, a stranger calling you, that was strange-looking stranger. The reaction is bolt. But I felt I must go. So I went closer to him. Then I was standing with him, not face to face because he was taller and was looking down. So he asked me, do you remember anything? I said, no, because I didn't remember. I didn't know what he was asking. Remember what? I said, no. Then he put his hand on my head. He said it in Hindi, but I'm telling you in English. He said, when the time comes, you will remember everything. Everything will be fine. And then he said, go back. So I walked back, still wondering what's happening here to me. Only thing I remember I carried with me was those big eyes of his. They were haunting me, like for many years they were there. I walked back. I know that I reached the kitchen at the back and my mother was cooking something. Now, I wanted to turn back and look. I could not. I could turn back only when I climbed the steps and went to the back door. Then I turned back. There was nobody there. So I said, but it was not a vision. It was an actual thing. Anyway, because I could still feel that hand on my head, there's something, the feeling of warmth. And I tried to tell my mother, I just couldn't talk. I could say everything except this incident. For many years it remained like that, locked. Anyway, I went inside, had something to eat. From that day started the whole change in my life. I had never learned to meditate before. I started, how did I start? When I went to sleep that night, around midnight, I felt that somebody was waking me up. Not as if there was anybody there. Completely awake in midnight. And I felt in the navel some kind of warm feeling and a light like these things you use for Deepavali, the fireworks, that round thing that rotates. Something here was moving. And then it spread throughout the body, and there was a feeling of blissfulness. This was my first meditation and the first change that happened. It, this happened every day, every night. I wouldn't sit up because I thought if I sit up, all used to sleep in one big, in the olden days, like joint families. And so I used to lie down and do it. This went on. I started understanding many things. And then I got this desire to read about the Upanishads. And I used to go to the libraries later on as I grew up and read whatever was available to me. Books came to me unasked for many times. And then my meditation started deepening. But the most interesting part was, it so happened that situations would happen where I would meet spiritual persons from all over.
Situations
would happen by which I would run into almost some people who are considered to be holy men, yogis, swamis in our area, in Trivandrum area. And from them I got a lot of blessings and sometimes instructions. And it went on till I reached the age of 19. I wrote my exams. And then at the age of 19, I felt that I have to move. One day, I decided I'll just go. You must understand, those days, there was no Google, there is no maps, there is no nothing. So I used to look for some time at railway guides and find out where to go to the Himalayas, where is Rishikesh, where. And one day, finally, I left. I had some money with me. And I've never traveled for such long distances on my own, but I just went. I had a lot of problems about trying to. I had some money, where to find food, how to travel in trains. It went on. And cold. I didn't realize that I needed some warm clothes and so on. I suffered a lot. Even after I reached Rishikesh by train, I suffered a lot. So I thought, let me stay in some ashram, at least look after the body. So I stayed in Divine Life Society. Swami Chidananda was the head of that society at that. I met him. I used to meet him, talk to him. But he also knew that I won't stay there. He said, you're going, I don't think you will stay here. Then one day I left and then I started walking. So from Rishikesh to Badrinath, I decided to go on foot. By the time I reached Vashishta Gufa, which is on the way, quite close, 20 kilometers away, 25, my legs were all swollen and I just couldn't. I so went to the cave. There was a Swamiji there. He died about 9 months ago. He looked after me. He said, don't go anywhere, stay. He was also from Kerala, so there was a common language and so on. He looked. And then afterwards, okay, I didn't stay a single day. I moved on. So I walked, I met a couple of people here and there, some ashrams and so on, and reached Badrinath.
You reached Badrinath? Wow.
Took me 1 month and 10 days or something, if I remember right.
Did you have any crazy experiences on the way?
Yeah, I met a couple of Swamis, and instead of some yogis, I also met some cannabis smoking guys who were not Swamis, who looked like some. All kinds of things happened to me. I met wise people who were very simple. I remember in the evening, I went into an ashram. There was a Vaishnavite sadhu, the 3 marks everywhere. There, I went and I always made it a point to tell them the truth, who I was and what my name was, where I came from. He said, very good. So he said, Puja is over, then you have food with me. Puja was over. They went to the Ganga, did Arati, came back. Then after that, he said, come, let's have a chat. He was an elderly man. He said, good, your intentions are good, but I have to tell you something. If you take sannyas, if you renounce the world and take sannyas, you have to be very careful because you have to be sure you're ready for it. He said, if somebody is climbing up steps to go to the top of the mountain. If you fall from the first or second step, you won't get hurt. If you go up there and fall, you will not be able to recover. You'll break your limbs.
Was that a way of saying if you fail your tests once you...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So he kind of gave me some warning, like, be careful. I reached Badrinath, where I met the Ravalji first. Ravalji, the priest of the Badrinath temple. Since the time of Adi Shankara's time, when he revived the Badri temple, he decided that the priest here has to be a Nambudri from Kerala. There was Vedic families who were selected. They have a 5-year tenure, and they are the priest. So I went and met him. I told him that I'm coming from such and such a place, and I told him honestly who I was, everything. I'm looking for a guru. I think there is some yogis in the Himalayas here in Pune. I got a most discouraging response to this. He said, you should go back because there's nobody like that here. There are ganja smoking sadhus and so on. You go back. And he also said that you're an educated fellow. Why are you wasting time here? Go back and do. I said, I listened to everything, but I said, can you find a place for me to stay for some time? That he said, I will do. And he found a kutia for me across the other side of the Alkananda. So I stayed there. I used to go there for food, prasad. And I stayed. Every day, after the puja, they used to play cards there. So I was getting a little disillusioned. I burned my bridges, and now here. So there is a place, the last village in Indian village is Mana on the border. After that, 30 kilometers, you get the Indo-Tibetan border. But the last village is Mana. So I thought maybe I will go that way because I've heard that in Vasundhara Falls and so on, there are caves where yogis. So I took a walk in the evening. It was cold. By the time I had blankets and sweaters. Then I passed the Vyasa Gufa. There is a Vyasa Gufa there on the right side. Nobody was there. I continued, went to Mana, crossed, went on. Then it was just, I went and looked and there were some caves on the rocks, but there was nobody there, and one of the cave had a door fixed and somebody had locked it and gone off. I said, okay, let's go back. I was coming, it was getting dark. That time I felt very suicidal because I thought that nothing seems to be working for me. Maybe it is because of this body. Maybe if I come back next time in a different situation, different body, it might work. So I came to the edge of Alkananda, down Mana, and I contemplated on committing suicide, actually. I said, let me end maybe I'll come back with... But then I was worried that I might suffer, and I was just thinking, the water rose with a big sound there. Just thinking, how many minutes do you think I'll suffer? And I was just thinking. Anyway, I said, let me meditate for a while and take a decision. So I went back to the Vyasa Gufa. I saw a fire outside. So I said, there must be somebody, because when I went that side, nobody was there. I went inside and Maheshwarnath Babaji stood up.
The same guru you had met
Yeah,
when you were
I
a child.
know that eyes. That eyes were with me all the time, those big eyes. And his first response was, oh, so after wandering here and there, you come back again to me. So I told him, I will not leave you ever. And he said, we'll think about it. And laughed. So I stayed with him. 3.5 years, almost, I stayed with him. I wandered with him. Wherever he went, I followed him. I learned from him. He taught me what could be taught in a university for maybe 10 years. In 2 years, 1 year, he carried no books. When he taught Upanishads came from his head. When he taught the Gita, it came from his head. So in those 3 years, I would say it was kind of a crash course for me.
Without delving too much into details, sir, after your 3 years with your guru, why did you come back?
Babaji said, go back. Otherwise, I wouldn't have come back. I would have stayed quietly there. I was very happy. I told Babaji, I don't want to go and get stuck. He said, no, it's your plan in life to teach is to go back, get married, settle down, and teach. Because I want you to know what the ordinary human being goes through. Without that, you won't be able to teach. So you have to go through it, go back. And also he told me not to teach till I got a green signal from him. So I never taught for many years. Many years I listened to what others are saying and kept quiet and did not teach a word till the age of 42.
But you were practicing your Kriya.
Yes, of course. And day by day it was expanding the mind.
Were you also learning more in those years?
I was just learning what I had already learned. I was relearning it to make it more clear when I tell other people. Because I knew at some point I will have to teach. I was preparing myself actually.
Your purpose in this life is to just relay the information that you have gained?
Purpose in this life is to make people understand that in every living being, especially in a human being, because human beings can recognize it, other living beings cannot, that there is a divine element in all living beings, in all human beings. And that divine element is the essence of our being. And if you turn our mind round and look, if you find it, that is the aim of life.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you check out the entire episode and also check out this playlist that we've curated just for you.